It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
New York, I'm Bill Caligione, and time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. Hope you're doing all right. Today's show, it's a busy one, but first, it's being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. We'll give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons to get an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is taking place October 21st. It's an HBO event. I'm going to be there, and you should be there. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the fight poster, which you'll see on the right-hand side, which incidentally will be updated later on today or tomorrow. But it'll get you to the ticket office. Get yourself some tickets. Drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and let me know where you're going to be. I'll come by and see you. You know, and by the way, I'll have some of these with me because today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy right now where you're watching or listening to the show. Just go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. You want a signed copy? Come on up to me at the Turning Stone on October 21st, and I'll make sure you get one. Or just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. Now, I got a special for you. You know why? Because I screwed up. I ordered an extra. It's tough getting old, man, because what happened to me was I placed an order to get more books, and I forgot I placed it, so I placed a duplicate order and got twice as many books. So you're going to benefit. I tell you what, if you go to our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and you live anywhere in the United States, order the book, and I'll send it to you for $20. That includes the shipping. I gotta get some room. I got 2 boxes of books, so that's only good, by the way, for this week. So get yourself a copy now. Coming up later on the show, Alex Papali will be with us. He's going to do the Blast from the Past, which was a request from one of yous, former multi-division world champion Julian Jackson. We'll be talking about. Also, my man Larry Hazzard will be joining us as well. We'll get some thoughts on him. Today's topic almost seems like a TMZ show, really. I mean, first and foremost, Deontay Wilder, who, you know what, I like Deontay Wilder. I don't like the fact he pounds his chest and says he's the best heavyweight out there, blah, blah, blah. I do feel that all these guys he supposedly wants to fight test positive, and we're starting to get some inside scoops about that, like the Alexander Povetkin fight. He truly did not test positive. And now Luis Ortiz, Conti did a report, outlined everything on the report, and thinks it's all bogus. And it starts to fall into play, like one of our listeners, an inside man, my man Mitch, who said he felt it was a conspiracy Deontay Wilder bragging, oh, I'm going to fight this guy. And all of a sudden, every time this man has stepped up to fight somebody, the fight has been canceled, and they fill in his normal level of opposition, which is a slug. But to make matters worse, I got some comments from Deontay about that. But to make matters worse, yesterday he says that Mike Tyson basically is a fraud. That this guy never was a good champion, which is ludicrous, as Mike Tyson would say, ludicrous. And then to make it even worse, George Foreman calling out Steven Seagal in a no-holds-barred fight that he wants to have in Las Vegas and put it on a pay-per-view. What's going on with this world? Joining me right now, my man from St. Simon's Island, Georgia, Sal Rocky Senecola. What the hell is happening? Do we have I was saying, we got werewolves, and they said werewolf. I said werewolf. What's going on, man?
Well, let me tell you something. The benchmark was established, or the barrier was broken with our friend, and you love him to death, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. That set the new benchmark, and things are going to happen, including my challenge out to Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke wants to get back in a row. Was that Mickey Rooney? I think Mickey Rourke is looking for an opponent. I'm here, Mick. I'm here. Mickey, you got to come me. So it's crazy, Bill. Yeah. But Deontay Wilder, say words, is totally, it's ludicrous. I can't believe it. It's just ludicrous.
I think that it's crazy. First and foremost, George Foreman is old. He looks great, by the way. And Steven Seagal is 65. Steven Seagal recently has become a citizen of Russia. So who knows what's going on with that? But Deontay Wilder, first and foremost, to follow up with his comments recently after Luis Ortiz tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug. But like I said, if you haven't seen the Victor Conte, which is all over the internet right now, he did a little short video outlining some of the issues with this top positive test, which all of a sudden is in the WBC's hands. And I hope the WBC does the right thing. But Deontay Wilder said, I'm going to put thank God for social media, because these guys all have a platform. But he says, and this is Deontay Wilder speaking, he says, I'm going to put it like this. I've called out every top fighter that's been viewed by many of the best in the division. I've always fight whoever's placed in front of me. Many of the so-called best stayed in the light because they knew once they entered a ring with me, I would be at the other end of the dark tunnel. He says, name another heavyweight to date doing what I'm doing. I'm only knocking these grown-ass men out, but the fashion I'm doing it is the way their body has abnormal movement on the canvas. He says, many visit the hospital after seeing me and even smelt the scent of death. He says, do your research, people. Then you'll see who's the best. I end careers. Facts are facts. Numbers don't lie. You better bring, he says, like a pastor would say, you better bring your Bible and read it now, because I could tell you anything you believe. He says most people are afraid to face the truth. Why? Because the truth effing hurts. Many say other fighters' names, but he says, I'm the best. He says, Deontay Wilder is the best. I'm the most feared man on the planet at this moment in time. He says, and then a bunch of other rhetoric I don't even want to talk about. Here's the thing, and I won't even I'll get to him cutting up Mike Tyson in a second. But here's facts are facts. Face the truth. All these stupid bullshit things that Deontay Wilder is saying. I'm going to say this.
I can't believe it.
Deontay Wilder, Sal, may arguably be the worst heavyweight in boxing history based on his record as it stands today. He may very well be the worst. Yes, he's looked impressive, knocking out, like he would say, grown-ass men. But name one that's a real fighter. Go ahead, Sal. Name one. Obviously, you can't.
I'm sorry.
So here, I happen to have his record in front of me. Deontay Wilder. When I look down his record from recent fights, let's go down. Gerald Washington.
Didn't he have that fight with? Okay, go ahead.
Gerald Washington was 18-0 with a draw when he stepped in the ring with Deontay Wilder and got stopped. That was Wilder's last fight back in February. Gerald Washington, to that point, had fought no one and was a converted football player. Chris Arreola stepped in the ring July of 2016 and couldn't continue. Chris Arreola, although I do think Chris Arreola was a good fighter at one time, by the time he stepped in the ring to face Deontay Wilder, he had already lost to Berman Stavern, and this was a guy that just doesn't train or anything. He's a proverbial punching bag. Do we give credit for Deontay Wilder fighting him, who wasn't even in the mix? I don't. The best fighter he fought, in my opinion, was Artur Spitska, who he fought in January of 2016 and knocked him out in 9. Johan Duhaupas took him 11 rounds to knock him out, and Duhaupas is just a tough guy, not even a talented fighter. Deontay Wilder looked terrible against him. Eric Molina took 9 rounds to knock that fat pig out back in 2015. His best win was when he went, well, I think it was Artur Spitska, but his best win on paper was against Berman Stavern, who we all know was an overrated fighter. That was his best performance. He beat Jason Gavin, who's a disgrace to the sport of boxing. Malik Scott, who was a fixed fight. Lakajevic, who was well past his prime. Audley Harrison, who took a dive in 1 round. I mean, come on. Who's he fought, Sal? I'm looking. Hey, Deontay, facts are facts. Here's your record right here, my man. Who'd you beat? Who'd he beat, Sal?
I'll tell you, it's a shame, Bill, because, I do like Deontay Wilder, and he is disputedly a top heavyweight. And in fact, I guess he is a world champion according to some belts and sanctioning bodies. However, yes, I do agree. There has been a level of competition that I think has been presented before him that is not of his equal, and he's been able to overcome those foes fairly easily. So, like I said, was it always him believing who he is, like the movie you suggest in A Harder They Fall?
Toro.
And this is him touting his horn.
Toro. That's him. Yeah. Toro. The character him. Toro.
Yeah. He's Toro. He's Toro the wild bull, but he's not going to... Let me tell you something. He's a good fighter. I'll give Deontay Wilder, he is a very good fighter.
No, he's not.
He's a fundamental...
No, he's not. He's not a good fighter. I disagree. He's a power puncher, but he's not a good fighter, Sal. Come on. Stop with the BS. He's not a good fighter. Like Bill Parcells said once, concerning football, we are what our record suggests. You are what your record is. Now he happens to be undefeated, but show me a name on. Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what he said about Mike Tyson. This guy is
that I don't agree with. This is crazy. We're going to rip him apart after that.
Wait till you hear what he says. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C. will be right back.
Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad to have you with us. And just before we went to break, Sal and I were talking about Deontay Wilder. And Sal, I know you're waiting to hear what he said. So here's what Wilder says. Wilder says, basically calling in the into question the standard level of fighters Mike Tyson fought during his whole career. He says, if you go back, I want somebody to answer this question for me. How many Hall of Fame fighters did Mike Tyson actually fight? And don't bring up no mother effing Michael Spinks that came from the light heavyweight to the heavyweight division that was terrified out of his mind. And don't bring up Larry Holmes because we know Larry Holmes was way past his prime. So how many do you have? He says the only two are Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. And the funny thing is it's like this, Sal. And you correct me if I'm wrong because you've fought and everything else. How can you criticize a guy when you yourself can't back it up? Who's on his record? There's not a fighter. Deontay Wilder right now is 38 wins and no losses. And I name one guy on his entire resume, 38 fights, and that is a guy that he beat in 2016 as a Artur Spitska, as a legitimate rated fighter when they fought. I mean, if we have to give him credit for beating Berman Stavern, fine. Even though I don't at this point. But who else on Deontay Wilder's record can he really believe makes him, in his mind, the best heavyweight in the world?
Like I said, Bill, he's fed He's fed a good diet of what they call contenders today. I think that it will be disclosed, and he will have a rude awakening. It may not be his next fight, but it may be coming up around the corner. And, we'll see him when he's humbled and he's down on the ground, and he's going to have to pick himself up and be in a real fight. I think that's when we're gonna see some humility behind his words. Maybe not. No, I don't think so. He'll have an off night. That's what it'll be. but I don't know, Bill. He hasn't fought. Maybe what's available to him, maybe what they presented in front of him, and he has beaten that level of competition. But if he really wants to get into the top and the accolades that he feels he deserves, and be recognized the way he wants to be, then he's got to fight everyone that's out there that's a top contender looking to get his title, and including Anthony Joshua, which I think should be his next fight, to put up and shut up. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, according to Deontay Wilder, he calls everybody out, including Anthony Joshua, who's afraid to fight him. Here's the thing. I find it kind of funny that he would say, because first of all, Mike Tyson would have destroyed Deontay Wilder. I bet he destroys him right now.
Mike Tyson could probably get in shape and beat him right now.
That's
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike Tyson, go ahead.
No, I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
Mike Tyson, with his compact style and the way he moved, he's explosive. Deontay Wilder wouldn't be able to penetrate that, and his hands up, and freaking Mike Tyson would be like a buzzsaw and penetrating a lanky, tall body that Mike Tyson would break in half by banging to the body, bringing the uppercuts to the head, and popping him up. Mike Tyson would knock Deontay Wilder out.
Well, I tell you, an ironic thing that I find even more humorous, and Deontay Wilder, everybody's, you bad, Deontay, man, you're bad. Everybody's scared of you, man. You're bad, you're bad. He believes that. He believes it, right? All he's got to do, and I love the computer rankings for one reason. Computer rankings take the human element out. Yeah, I'm a Mike Tyson fan, so I'm always going to have him up there. I'm a Sonny Liston fan. I'm always going to have him up there. I can't help it. It's human nature. These are my guys, but Deontay Wilder, when you look at the computer ranking, the computer takes the personal side out, takes the human element out, and they base fighters, their rankings, on their opponents and who the opponents beat and who the opponents beat, etc., etc., etc. I find this ironic that Deontay Wilder, even though the heavyweight division today, you can make the argument that it's probably one of the weakest divisions ever, Deontay Wilder's not even ranked by the computer at number 1. And get this, he's not even ranked by the computer at number 2. He's ranked number 3 by the computer. Of course, Anthony Joshua is number 1. I mean, this is a guy that is clearly the best heavyweight on the planet today. And he beat the guy who was the reigning champion for a decade. All right? You know who's number 2? Alexander Povetkin. Alexander Povetkin is number 2. This was a guy that Deontay Wilder was ready to fight and then mysteriously test positive for performance-enhancing drugs himself. Listen, I think that Deontay Wilder's team is so adamant about protecting this guy, Sal, that this is the level of fighter we're going to see. Just like I predicted that his next opponent was going to be Glowacki, don't be surprised if he's not, because I have a feeling that the WBC, despite Victor Conte's findings and proof that they were indeed heart medications that he's been taking for years, and they have documented proof, and that it doesn't even state it on the bottle, so it's a legitimate mistake on Luis Ortiz. I'll bet you that Deontay Wilder's people kind of, convinced the WBC to not let this fight happen. What do you think?
That's a heck of a hypothesis and conspiracy theory. What do you think, Bill? I think, hey, anything's possible. That's the wild world of sports. As you were talking, I'm thinking, maybe maybe George Foreman should go past Steven Seagal and come back against Deontay Wilder. That would be a pay-per-view event, I think. But I'd like to see George humble him with a nice right hand or left hook. I don't know if that would happen though. But I'll tell you, Deontay Wilder, like I said, I used to say last year that maybe it's no fault of his own because he's being fed. He's like a milk-fed cattle here, and he's enjoying his time in the light with the 0 in his record. And I think he's got to chew on what he's given in front of him, and whether it's him or whether it's his team protecting him, which we think it is, and that's normally what happens. They're going to use him as a commodity, and he is protected, and they're going to be riding him as long as they can, because when they put him in with a real solid contender or heavyweight, I think that he's going to have some difficulties. I think Anthony Joshua would be a great fight. I think they have good styles that would make it a great fight. And Deontay Wilder, I'm going to tell you, could get lucky because I'm not still sold on Anthony Joshua's chin. I think he's got a good chin. I think he came back great from Klitschko being knocked down. But, we got the conditioning element and everything else. It would be a great fight. And I think you'll have a lot of people on both sides of the aisle for that fight. But we're not going to probably see that fight for another year or two.
You're making me laugh. You're making me
laugh. I know.
Deontay Wilder, listen, Deontay Wilder, you could try and play devil's advocate as much as you want, Sal. You could try to play the guy who's gonna, try to, go against what I'm saying and all of this, and not state facts and facts. You could be that guy as much as you want, but let me tell you something. Deontay Wilder does not stand a chance with Anthony Joshua. At least the Anthony Joshua that's ready to fight now. The guy that's going to step in the ring with Kubrat Pulev, the guy that just beat Klitschko, that Deontay Wilder has no chance against him, even though he's got punching power, which I give him credit for. He has no chance against Anthony Joshua. He knows it. His team knows it. And guess what? The WBC knows it too, because they are trying to help this guy hold on to his belt for whatever reason. I don't know why. If I'm a sanctioning body, I want a guy like Anthony Joshua wearing my belt. It's that simple. Deontay Wilder has not proven one thing in the ring. Anthony Joshua has. He beat Klitschko. That's proof enough. And he didn't just win a decision like Tyson Fury did. He didn't just win and squeak out and leave room for argument. He didn't do it. He knocked him out. And he got up off the canvas to do it. Deontay Wilder has not had a signature fight, not one. And I'm sorry, but for him to criticize Mike Tyson, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, especially coming from a guy who's got nothing to back it up. If Deontay Wilder had this extended win record against all the top heavyweights, even forget the historical perspective, even if he fought the top heavyweights of today, which he has not done. He has not done it. So I mean, come on. It's a joke. It's a joke. And you're right. George Foreman, you might as well fight Deontay Wilder, because, and all of a sudden Deontay Wilder will give credit to himself for beating a Hall of Famer, just like he took away from Tyson. But anyway, in the middleweight division, Daniel Jacobs, they officially announced his opponent, which will be taking place on November 11th. In Long Island at the Nassau Coliseum, or whatever they call it now. Luis Arias, 18-0, 9 knockouts, will be his opponent for his showcase fight on HBO. Looks good on paper. See, this is what they do, Sal. They find a fighter that looks good on paper, and then all of the non-knowledgeable fans that will be watching, oh, he must be good. He's undefeated, man. He must be good. No, he's not good. Luis Arias is a good fighter, but not for Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs has elevated his game by the performance he had with Triple G, I think. What do you think?
I think you're 100% correct, and I'm going to agree with you on that. And I mean, Daniel Jacobs, we said going into that fight that Daniel Jacobs could stand to a lot of coming out of this fight. Even if he just looks good, he could definitely improve his position and his marketability and his drawing power. And he fought a tough fight against Triple G. I mean, there was some controversy in the end of who really won, but I'll tell you what, Triple G, as I said, I think he pulled it out. but Daniel Jacobs is a bona fide world-class fighter, and he can and will be champ. And I think that Daniel Jacobs, like I said, he's got a great career in front of him.
No doubt. Sal, we're going to kick you to the curb for a little bit. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're scheduled to have my man Larry Hazzard with us. So don't go anywhere, will you?
Billy C will be right back.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
And it was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching The Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And speaking about being with us, joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, Larry Hazzard. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Billy. How you doing?
Not too bad, my man. Not too bad. I'm all riled up today, Larry, because Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder, first and foremost, let's start with the Ortiz failing the drug test situation. And, from a commission standpoint, I need you to enlighten something for me and the viewers. First and foremost, does each commission, or maybe I'll word it this way, does New Jersey specifically test for PEDs, a certain level of them, or do you police them based on the contract that a fighter might have if they want to conform to VADA testing, etc.? Explain how you guys handle the PED situation in Jersey.
Well, as a standard rule, we test all of our fighters. Okay, that's standard procedure. As far as VADA is concerned, if VADA is doing the testing and the fighters have agreed to be a part of the VADA testing, then we let VADA take the lead on. That's usually in these major fights, which Wilder and Ortiz would have been. Then we would rely upon VADA to handle that situation. As a matter of fact, just as we speak, I have a letter here from Margaret Goodman, who I think is the head of that VADA organization, dealing with two of the fighters that are appearing on that October 21st event that we have here in New Jersey. So that's basically the way it works.
Now,
if they agree to that VADA anti-doping program, then we let VADA handle it. Of course, we're the oversight commission, but we rely on them and their results. Then we take action from that. But that's basically it.
Well, if they're not involved, and in your case, your commission in New Jersey is testing two fighters, where do you what banned list do you go by? Do you go by the same list that's published for VADA, or do you have another one? I mean, how does that work?
Basically the same list.
Okay, all right. So when a commission decides to take the lead and test for PEDs, they're all testing for the same stuff that VADA is.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Luis Ortiz fails his drug test again, which I found, I just couldn't believe it, because here's a guy that, initially failed a test, was warned at that time, failed another test, did his time, so to speak, was suspended, etc., and then gets this big fight with Deontay Wilder, and you would think that he knew damn well that he was going to be tested, and lo and behold, he fails again. Now, since then, there's some discrepancy with the test and what he failed with, and was able to show a history of hypertension, high blood pressure, however you want to look at it, and it was in his meds, and it's now being reviewed by the WBC for them to make the final decision on whether they're going to allow the fight or not. What's your thoughts on this particular situation? And keeping in mind that Ortiz, if he would have known that these materials were in his high blood pressure medicine, which he should have known, he should have reported that before they even took a blood sample. I mean, that's supposed to be reported to the commission or whoever's overseeing it, right? Like, hey, I'm taking these meds.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
So
that's all. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, does all the blame go on Ortiz, or is this a gray area? I mean, what's your opinion of this failed test from Luis Ortiz?
Well, see, that's the problem that we have in boxing. I don't know the protocols for other sports, but the blame falls on the fighters, the fighters' camp, the fighters' management. Okay, we are either going to see. We always muddy the waters on the protocols in boxing. It's always an explanation for everything. You fail the test. Okay, he went to a party and it was in the air, or he ate some brownies and it was in it. It's always something. Look, these are the banned substances. If you're taking supplements, I've had guys come in our regular testing, not with VADA. See, I don't really buy into that crap. We catch a guy in an event, a banned substance. Now he's got 1,000 excuses as to where it came from. It was in his medication. It was in this. It was in that. You know what I mean? So we don't buy into that. Okay? It's your responsibility to check all of that. You're a professional fighter. You know what the rules and regulations are. you know that you've agreed to this protocol. So, you're going to just go and take medicines or whatever and then not even reveal it ahead of time. I'm taking this substance for high blood pressure. This is what it contains, or etc. Okay? That's all the responsibility of the fighter in his camp. That's the way I see it. That's the way we see it here.
Well, with all that said, and, some of the stuff that has been going on with Deontay Wilder, and from a personal basis, I like Deontay Wilder. I like, what he seems to be a family guy. He seems to be really, looking out for his family, his future, etc. I don't like his antics, pounding his chest. I'm the best heavyweight in the world today, blah, 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 because his record doesn't indicate that. And, he tells people, oh, facts are facts and this and that. And I say to myself, well, the facts are the facts. Look at your own record. I mean, you haven't beat anybody. I mean, there's not a name on the resume. I just went through this whole thing earlier on the show. And now he comes out and says, well, I want this guy anyway. I don't care if he's cheating. He's referred to it as that. He says it's all in the WBC's hands. What's your thoughts on this? Do you think that he sincerely means that? Because I've gotten emails from many of the viewers and listeners that feel it's almost a conspiracy situation with Wilder because, the alleged Alexander Povetkin testing positive, which we find out he didn't. Now with this Luis Ortiz, I think there was another fighter along the way. What's your thoughts on the specific fight that is in jeopardy here between Wilder and Luis Ortiz? Should it go on?
Yeah, I think they should let it go on.
Right.
And I think he wants him. I think he feels at this point he needs a real notable, legitimate win on his career.
He does need it. I think he does.
Yeah.
Whether he thinks he does or not, I don't know, but I definitely think he does. I think a win over a guy Luis Ortiz shuts everybody up, including myself. He needs. They were saying the same stuff about AJ until he knocked out Klitschko. Now all of a sudden everybody's, they realize this guy's the real deal. Deontay Wilder needs a guy. He needs the dance partner. We say it all the time, right?
That's what he does. And I was talking to Mark Breland 2 weeks ago at the Ring 10 affair, and he told me straight up that they want this guy, and they really think they could beat him. And Mark, Mark says, hey, I'm pounding in this guy's head, and he's got to go back to that jab. I said, good. I'm glad to hear that. He's got to go back to the basics, and then get away from thinking he can knock everybody out with one shot. But we're gonna do it right. He said we want this guy, and Mark said we need this guy. Okay, we need him. So I sincerely believe that that they want him, and I think that the fight should go on. I really do.
I agree with you, and I think that it's for Deontay. When you look at the fight, putting the possibility of PEDs aside, and you look, Deontay Wilder, Luis Ortiz has not fought in a while. He's a kind of a fighter that fights in peaks and valleys, meaning sometimes he looks great, sometimes he looks mediocre at best. And I think that Deontay Wilder needs a win over a guy, especially a knockout win, over Luis Ortiz. And he's coming at the right time. He's been off for a year. He's 38 years old. Not to make those excuses, I'm sure some people will. But I feel that Deontay Wilder needs this win. Because the only big name on his resume, I give him credit for Tor Spitska, that Polish kid. I thought that was a good win for Deontay. But the only name on the record was actually his best performance. And you mentioned Mark Breland. Was Stavern? No, I thought it was Stavern because that's when Breland's game plan was actually followed. And I don't know if they don't put a game plan in place for some of these other guys that he's supposed to annihilate. It's just I don't know. I think he needs to fight. I think I think that they should be talking to the WBC and saying, hey, let this guy fight him, because if not, people are going to blame Wilder. What do you think?
Well, and knowing how the sanctioning organizations operate, I think that the WBC is going to end up allowing the fight to continue and buying into whatever excuse is given. But as far as Mark, as far as Wilder and his performances and game plans, he's just a little hard-headed from what I get. He doesn't listen. You know what I mean? He doesn't listen under fire, and then he goes and starts trying to do things his own way. But Mark feels very confident that he's got him under tow now, and I believe him, because if he goes back to the basics and does the right things, I think that he really has a great chance of beating Ortiz also. That's my personal opinion. But I think that the WBC is going to allow the fight to go on. I do believe it. And, I often wonder, Billy, with these PEDs, I mean, how much of an impact do you really think PEDs have on a fighter's performance, especially some fighters that really don't have the skills that others have? Do you really think that do you think too much is being made over these PEDs in boxing?
To be honest with you, Larry, I really don't know enough about performance-enhancing drugs. I've purposely tried to keep my distance for that reason. It's a really tough question. Does it help guys hit home runs in baseball? Yeah. Does it help guys go from mild-mannered normal human beings in NFL football and turn them into complete animals on the field? Yeah, it does. As far as boxing, you would think that because of the nature of the sport and it's one-on-one and these guys are risking their lives to begin with, you would think that there's a danger factor in there. But if sometimes they're taking these, people have suggested that this type of the type of PEDs that were located in the test from Ortiz would suggest that he's trying to mask other things. Somebody asked me the other day, Larry, that they had an idea. They said we should have two leagues for boxing. One where everybody doesn't use PEDs, and one where they're allowed to use PEDs. And they asked me what I thought, and I said, if they came up with something like that, everybody would watch the PED one because they're waiting to see somebody's head get knocked off. I mean, it's terrible. And then somebody else, my man Coach says, even the league that has the no PEDs, you'd have fighters trying to cheat and use them. So, I mean, it's a tough question. You're always going to have people that are going to try to get an advantage. It used to just be over a meal or exercise. Now they're putting stuff in their bodies. It's a tough question. But I do think that Deontay Wilder has the tools in terms of physical ability, in terms of his height and his arm reach, and, of course, his freakish punching power, to really fight the real fights. And for whatever reason, they're not letting him. And listening to him, I truly believe that he believes that he is that good. I think that the people around him don't think so. But from what your indications that Mark Breland has faith in him, and that goes a long way. Mark Breland knows what he's talking about. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd like to see him cut loose. It's been my big argument with Floyd. I don't think we ever saw the best Floyd Mayweather. And people, would make an argument that he's the best ever, which I think is ridiculous. But he could have been if he actually fought. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was reiterating about the Canelo fight. And I said Canelo's inability to hit effectively on the move, which I've said for years, is why he can't beat Triple G. And I said only the great ones are able to do that. And I said Muhammad Ali did it, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, et cetera, and the person I was talking to says, well, and Floyd did it too. I said, no, Floyd didn't do it. Floyd never hit effectively on the move. He was a great counterpuncher, and avoided punches, but he never hit effectively on the move. But that doesn't mean he couldn't. I think Floyd could have. I just think he chose not to. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Well, getting back to Deontay Wilder, what's your thoughts on his recent comments suggesting that Mike Tyson was overrated and that he never fought anyone tough in his career? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, here we go again. I think those comments are really off the wall, okay? Because if you tell me that wasn't a tough fight with a guy whose name really doesn't even fly out there, like you remember Tyson against Razor Ruddock. That was tough.
Tough.
Okay.
I mean, when I saw Razor Ruddock get in the ring that day, I had never realized how big he was. The first one, the first fight. And I said, oh, my God. I leaned over to a buddy of mine when I was watching the fight. I go, this guy's back looks like a sheet of plywood. I mean, he was big. That's what we don't have today. We don't have that level fighter to really test the fighters anymore. We don't have the Razor Ruddocks,
No, and getting back to Tyson was a destructive machine, okay? So I don't know where those comments are coming from, with Deontay shouting that kind of crap. That's a bunch of BS. Mike Tyson destroyed everything they put in front of him, and he was miraculously guided, as you could see, from fight to fight. You could see he may. Now, one thing I will say about Mike, okay, is that he wasn't the greatest boxer, but he made up for all of that with punching power, okay? So, just pure boxing skills, and I don't say that he was exceptional in that, but it was his destructive punching power that made up for it.
Right.
Made him the complete fighter.
Well,
okay.
I've said the same thing about Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano had no everything he did was wrong, but his conditioning, his heart, and his punching power is what put him in the Hall of Fame. It's like a guy who swings a bat wrong and he can't. His stance is wrong. Everything's wrong, but he every time he hits a ball, it goes out of the park. You leave those guys alone.
Yeah, Dr. J didn't have a good outside shot like Michael Jordan, but he was still the greatest going in and underneath and everything else, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hall of Famer. So, sometimes you can't expect that an athlete or fighter or whatever, in this case, to have it all in every category, but if he makes up for what he lacks with his strong points, then, you got to give him credit for that. And Rocky Marciano is a good example of what we're talking about as it relates to Mike Tyson. They weren't the greatest boxers per se, okay, but they made up for everything with their destructive punching power. And certainly that's a part of the game, and that's what fans come to see. Fans like knockouts, man. Fans like fighters who don't sit back. That's one of the big criticisms that the old school boxing fans had against Floyd Mayweather. He just didn't bring that excitement that everyone wanted to see, but you could not discredit him for his abilities and his boxing skills. And, of course, he beat everybody that they put in front of him. He didn't really duck anybody. So it is what it is. And Mike Tyson was the same way. So I think that Deontay is really off the wall with those type of comments.
Yeah, well, he's just believing the guys around him, I think. And, Mike Tyson, the other thing about Mike Tyson, similar to Sonny Liston, when they the fear factor, they had that going for them. They had fighters that were scared before the first bell rang. They were questioning and second guessing their own abilities before the bell rang until Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Then everybody, he's human. And the same thing happened with Sonny Liston. When he finally lost, well, he had losses in his career before, but when Ali beat him, he wasn't that big bad bear anymore, and that's what happens to fighters. And it kind of happened, I think, in a small degree with Klitschko. Tyson Fury squeaks out a win. The difference with Anthony Joshua beating Klitschko was that he knocked him out, and he got up off the canvas to do it. To me, that goes a long way than just beating up guys you're supposed to knock out,
Absolutely.
One last question for you, and this one's the most important of all, Larry. George Foreman has challenged Steven Seagal to a fight that he wants to put on pay-per-view. What's your thoughts? They literally are going to call it the Geezers at Caesars. Didn't they already have that? Who was the Geezers? Who was the original Geezers at Caesars? No, you know what? Wasn't it supposed to happen and it never did? A fight between Holmes and Foreman? Wasn't that the fight that never took place?
It was Holmes. I think it was Holmes and Foreman, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Geezers at Caesars, and it never took place. Now he wants to bill it the Geezers at Caesars. Steven Seagal can fight any way he wants as long as he doesn't bring weapons in the ring. And George Foreman wants to fight him. 68 years old George is. And Steven Seagal, 65. I don't know what prompted this. Rumor has it some of the comments that Steven Seagal made about the NFL players not standing for the national anthem, which is kind of funny because last year he became a Russian citizen. So who the hell knows about Steven Seagal?
Well, here we go with Mayweather and McGregor again.
No, exactly. Exactly. It's called a circus, Sal. Larry, I was just yelling at Sal before. It's called a circus. That's what it is, man. And these guys are like, wait a minute, they made $100 million each. Well, we'll be happy making $10 million each. So.
Well, I like George with the grill better. Well, at this point,
George with the grill. That was the smartest business move he ever made.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But anyway, well, listen, Larry, I appreciate your time, and we're going to keep our eyes. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention: the WBC. You know what? We had Mr. Suleiman on here not too long ago, and it was a great interview. He does sound like he means well. I'll be honest, but they announced officially that the WBC, has ordered the rematch between Triple G and Canelo. I found that so funny because the two fighters already agreed that they're going to fight again. As a matter of fact, they have the date. They know it's going to be on Cinco de Mayo weekend. And the funniest part of it is, didn't Canelo, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he basically say he wants nothing to do with the WBC and that if he did win, he wasn't going to take their title and all that stuff? I mean, am I wrong about it? Yeah, he did, right? Didn't he say that?
Yes, I thought.
Yeah.
Mauricio seems to have a little bit of a habit of taking credit for things that have already have been proposed.
Right.
He runs around taking credit for a lot of innovations in boxing that he had nothing to do with. If that's the way he wants, it's what you call reinventing the wheel, isn't it?
Wait a minute. You mean Mauricio Suleiman didn't invent the knockout in boxing?
Well, he's the same guy that wanted to change the Marcus of Kingsbury rules when the guy, when the kid got hit behind the head, the one that's paralyzed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. He wanted to name rabbit punching after the kid. He wanted to call that his rule. I forgot the kid's name, but down in Virginia. You remember that fight?
I can't think of the guy. I thought you were talking about the Mago Abdul-Samad fight, but
No. The fight when the kid. Oh my gosh. Well, we're getting old, Billy.
No, tell me about it.
The fight that took place down in Virginia.
Yeah, the guy who was he was making. I think he moved from MMA, didn't he? Wasn't he the MMA guy?
No, that's not. It's so many of these bizarre situations, but the kid had got hit. When we hang up, then it'll all come to me, I'm sure.
Well, it always does. It always does.
Yeah. But anyway, he was advocating now changing the hitting behind the head. He wanted to name it after the fighter, call it that rule. And I wrote him a letter and told him, that situation that occurred had nothing to do with the rule. We already have a rule that there should be no rabbit punches, and that's part of the Marcus of Kingsbury rules. What are you going to do now? Take that and name it something else simply because the kid got hit behind the head? To me, that's something that the referee should have addressed through his toolkit of violations, and that would have been it. So
I was just going to say the same thing. Isn't that the referee's job to determine that?
Right.
But anyway, Larry, appreciate your time, my man. Look forward to next week, brother.
Okay, Billy.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
That's Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazzard giving us his thoughts, some interesting points about Deontay Wilder. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, this week's Blast from the Past, Julian Jackson is who we'll be talking about today. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back, part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
Stop living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And one of our longest running segments is up right now, the Blast from the Past. And this week's Blast from the Past is being brought to us in part by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And the Title Bout Championship computer game. Download a copy today. Visit our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout Championship computer game. And speaking of the Title Bout Championship computer game, we are going to have some trivia questions again beginning next week. And I got several of those Title Bout games I want to give away, so start practicing and brushing up on your boxing history. Anyway, today's Blast from the Past features former world junior middleweight and middleweight champion, and a guy, if you were following the sport of boxing in the 80s and 90s, this was a guy that you kind of got to see a lot of. And when I think of him as one of the poster childrens of the sport during the 80s and 90s, Julian Jackson. And joining us right now to tell us all about Julian Jackson is my man Alex Perpali. What's up, brother?
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
I'm doing okay. My blood pressure was, destroyed this morning between Deontay Wilder's comments about my man Mike Tyson, then Sal trying to defend Deontay Wilder, which made me sick. So thankfully, I got the chance to talk to Larry, and now you with my favorite segment, our Blast from the Past, and we'll be talking about Julian Jackson. Tell us about him.
Yeah, and when it comes to, like you said, he's a poster children for power. And when you look at classic highlight reel knockouts, Julian Jackson is right up there. He has one that, like that famous Babe Ruth, whether it happened or not, it's a legend, where he supposedly pointed over the, out into the outfield and then cracked a home run. Buster Drayton pointed where a guy would fall, and that was, Julian Jackson did that to Buster Drayton, where he does this gesture after cracking him with a shot, does a gesture and points where to fall, and like he had a choice. He was completely unconscious. This guy, power really is what puts asses in seats, as they say. But yeah, Julian Alexis Jackson, he was born in the Virgin Islands, like another great champion, Emil Griffith. He was born on September 12th, 1960. Julian Alexis Jackson, his nickname was the Hawk, not to be confused with Aaron Pryor. I'm not sure if that was a tribute or not. I don't have too much about his childhood. There wasn't a big boxing scene, despite the fact that Griffith had been from the Virgin Islands. He only had 17 amateur fights, turned pro, and if you notice, his early fights, if you look at his record, were in Puerto Rico. They were not in, he fought until in the Virgin Islands until his fourth fight. But yeah, a lot of early knockouts. That was one thing about him. He just had power. But the thing that, you always, interesting characters, guys who have power. This is one who is very humble guy, very spiritual guy. He's a Christian. He talks a lot about faith. He talks about, being thankful for the gifts from his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But he has really, there's nothing, that 11th commandment of love one another, you don't exactly see it in his highlight reel footage.
Not when he's inside the ring anyway. And, the funny thing about Julian Jackson, and I meant to, when Larry and I were talking I had a reference that I was going to make about Ernie Shavers. And, we were talking about how some, fighters do things wrong and they become great, like Rocky Marciano, etc. Well, Ernie Shavers was like that. When he was in the gym, they start telling him, oh, you're not throwing your punches right. You're not doing this. You're not doing that, until the first guy hit the canvas. And then Ernie told me, hey, my coach then turned to me, you know what? Just keep doing what you're doing. And that is so similar to Julian Jackson, because Julian Jackson, similar to Ernie Shavers, had this freakish knockout punch, which obviously was indicated by his knockout percentage and the amount of knockouts that he's had throughout his career. But also similar to Ernie Shavers, his weakness was his own chin, where that failed him in all of his losses. But he was kind of tall for his day, so he had some boxing ability and he had some pop.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention his height, 5'11 and a half. And he fought at junior middleweight and middleweight. When it comes to punching power, of course, you think of heavyweights because they could knock a man dead with one shot. This guy he's on everybody's pound for pound greatest punchers list. I think the Ring used to do those. I don't know if they still do it now, or if they've done one recently. But bone crunching power, had real short punches, and it is one of those things. I think it was who was it, Customato, who says that you're not born with punching power, you're born with a natural aptitude towards punching power, something like that. I forget. It's a little that's a paraphrase, but it's amazing, the power. But you're right. It's almost like if you live by the sword, die by the sword, to go with another Christian theme here, because when he knocked guys out and when he lost, it was usually big knockouts. The two Hall of Famers on his record, he was fought Mike McCallum and was knocked out by Mike McCallum in a shootout, 2-round shootout. And kind of a quick stoppage, but he had been hurt. And then when he beat a Hall of Famer in Terry Norris, and he knocked him out cold. Again, a really good fight. He was just a very exciting fighter. He was going to mix it up with you, and he fought on ABC and then eventually moved to Showtime. He was part of, in those days, the HBO package was sort of... I can't remember now. I think it was like the main events type guys. Lou Duva you always saw there. And Showtime had Tyson. They had Julian Jackson. And they had Julio Cesar Chavez. So a lot of times you'd see pay-per-views with those three guys on there. I mean, we didn't realize, Billy C., at the time that was such a great era. But the 80s really were, looking back.
Yeah, and I've said that many times when people ask me, about the last great era, the 80s, and I always laugh, because if you asked me that in the 80s, I would have laughed then. I would have said, what are you kidding? These guys, these slugs, these fighters, and now you look today and they're like, oh my God, but now was Inchul Beck the fighter? Is he a Hall of Famer? I thought he was a Hall of Famer too.
No, he is not. I looked, and no, he isn't. Those are. I think that's what's one of the things that's probably keeping him out of the Hall of Fame, is he doesn't have a lot of names. Gerald McClellan is not in the Hall of Fame. I think sadly, as tragic as his whole story is, I think his career was too abbreviated for him to get in there. But he had a great fight with two great fights with Gerald McClellan, and again both rock'em sock'em fights, and McClellan just had his number. McClellan was he was a sensational fighter. He was on a collision course to fight Roy Jones. eventually, and when fortunately, the tragic Nigel Benn fight took place, and it was after beating Julian Jackson that sort of paved the way. I think that was his next fight. Let me double check that. Gerald McClellan's, if he fought, the next fight he fought, he beat Julian Jackson. His next fight was Nigel Benn. So his next fight was his last.
When you look at Jackson's record, he fought the similar opposition when he started his career in February of 1981, and he climbed the ladder, and then he gets his first world title shot, and what I would have thought was premature. I'm critical today with today's fighters that have almost the identical record of Julian Jackson leading up to his first world title shot against Mike McCallum in 1986, and he was stopped. But after that fight, Alex, he fought really the best opposition that was available to him. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, definitely at his best was at junior middleweight. There's a 2014 interview with him, and even at that time, he says he's walking around at 163 pounds. So making 154, that was very natural for him. That was the place where he was in his most powerful, place against that competition. King wanted him to move up, and there was more going on in terms of matchups and bigger money fights. At middleweight, he didn't do as well there, but you're right. As at junior middleweight, after he beats Terry Norris, he takes out Harold Graham. That was a fight actually he had suffered that's another incredible knockout. He had suffered a detached retina, Julian Jackson, and I guess it had some surgery. I'm not sure if it was the same one that Sugar Ray Leonard had, but the fight was going to be in England, and their medical rules forbid a fighter who had that kind of repair work to his eye to let them fight there. So that fight ended up happening in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Jackson's record, even slightly before the fight with Terry Norris, I mean, Angel Beck, he beat Buster Drayton, as you suggested earlier. Then the Terry Norris fight, then Harold Graham, then Thomas Tate. I mean, he had some other fights.
Tate was another top guy.
Yeah, Ron Collins was a once beaten guy. He beat. I mean, these were all top guys. And the other thing I want to add about Julian Jackson was that he was remember when we always talk about pay-per-views and the quality of the pay-per-views, this is the guy you got to see on a pay-per-view as the other fight. Like he was one of the guys that were you're watching a pay-per-view, and oh, by the way, you get to see Julian Jackson, taking on, I believe, when he lost to Mike McCallum. That was an undercard on a pay-per-view, and fights like that. I mean, that's what we miss today, I think, Alex. When we get a pay-per-view, we're really paying outrageous money for one fight, and then we're seeing 3 showcase fights. During Julian Jackson's era, you really could have picked any one of the 4 fights as the headliner, and that's what I loved about pay-per-views back then.
Yeah, and even when they weren't pay-per-views, when he knocked out Terry Norris, it was on ABC TV, and it was right after Julio Cesar Chavez knocked out Kenny Vice. So you got to see 2 guys on a Sunday afternoon in July for free on free TV. That's pretty amazing. And you're right. I mean, I think I'm looking for quickly here, the Gerald McClellan fight. Yeah, the Gerald McClellan fight was on listen to this, Don King pay-per-view. Gerald McClellan, Julian Jackson, Lennox Lewis versus Tony Tucker, Julio Cesar Chavez versus Terrence Ali, and Hector Camacho versus Eric Podolak. Also, wait, I'm not done. Thomas Tate versus Eddie Hall, Meldrick Taylor versus Henry Hughes, Obakar versus Heriberto Valdez. That's a pretty good card. And then one guy, I'm not. This guy doesn't ring a bell. King Ipitan versus Sam Akins. But yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big names that all on one card. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, those days, I miss those days. That's for sure.
They don't make them like that anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. And the fans today don't understand how the sport is basically fleecing them. But he did lose the WBC title to Gerald McLennan in 1994. He got another shot and regained it in 1995 against Agostino Cardamone, who was an undefeated fighter who I can't recall. I can't recall this guy at all. But he regained the title quickly, stopping him in 2 rounds, only to lose his title to Quincy Taylor a couple months after that. He did run a string of 4 wins in a row against nondescript opponents to get him yet another shot at a title, not a well-known title. But he did lose via knockout his last 2 professional fights and then hung him up. And another thing that I love about these guys, when they retire, they retire.
Yeah, he did. When he was done, he did not come back. He did say, there was something, I saw a quote that he feels like a shadow when that he gets some of the enjoyment of the sport in watching his sons box, 2 of his sons box, and Julius Jackson, and he sticks to the basics, and has kept them in shape. And I'm not sure, I didn't check on Julius Jackson's record. I'm not sure what he's done lately, but I do remember seeing him on a couple of...
Lately, he lost.
He did have a loss to Jerry Odom in 2016. He had 1 comeback fight this summer. It's interesting. I guess he developed Julian Jackson developed a friendship with Abel Sanchez, who it's pretty interesting. You see a very young Abel Sanchez in the corner of Terry Norris, and they interview him before it in the ABC coverage of that, which is on YouTube. And so Julian Jackson did get a look, and I guess his son sparred with Triple G. And in this interview that's up on YouTube, the 2014 interview, he talks about how, he did he enjoys watching Triple G's style because Triple G does things so well. He's got such incredible balance. And they do ask him how he thought he would have done, and not too well, quite honestly, according to the computer.
Well, before you get to that, let me ask you this: What aside from being involved in his son's careers after boxing, especially today, had Julian Jackson done anything, with the sport, or what was he doing before his sons became pros?
As far as I know, I think that was it in terms of he helps in their training because they did work some amateurs. So I don't know if maybe he helped to build up the program, an amateur program in the Virgin Islands. I imagine they must be in very rough shape because the hurricanes hit them very hard. So I don't know. I don't see him on social media. Julian Jackson. But he has been to Canastota, and he like I said, he's walking around at 163, so he looks in good shape. He's there with his family. He sounds very good. He doesn't sound like all scrambled up like some fighters do. I think things are going well. I guess he's involved with his children and certainly involved with his church.
How did he fare in title bout?
I put him in against the top guys at 154 and 160 because those were the divisions he competed. The top guy at 154 right now is Demetrius Andrade. This was kind of interesting. In their first fight, it was a 12-rounder. Andrade kind of did most of the dominating until the final round where Jackson dropped him 3 times. And it ended up being a draw, 3 scores that were all over the place, 116, 112 for Andrade, 117, 111 for Jackson, and then 1 even. And in a rematch, Jackson scored a 3rd-round knockout, 1 minute and 36 seconds. When they fight 100 times, Jackson dominates, 89 victories, 7 defeats, 4 draws, and 83 knockouts. So of his 89 wins, it's almost always via the KO. And Andrade was able to score 2 knockouts in his 7 wins. When he fights Golovkin, the first time they fight, Golovkin takes him out. It sounded like a pretty good fight. When you read what went down, Golovkin ends up, there were no knockdowns until the 4th. Golovkin by 4th round KO, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. When they fight 100 times, Julian Jackson wins 17, loses 81, draws twice, and he scored 16 of those knockouts of the 17 wins. So Triple G, beat him pretty bad. He wins 81 of 100.
Interesting. Great job.
And 65 KOs for Triple G.
Great job as usual. Julian Jackson, our blast from the past. He was voted Ring Magazine's #1 middleweight in the world in 1992. He was also voted Ring Magazine's 5th greatest junior. Now this is a great honor. The 5th greatest junior middleweight of all time back in 1994. So he was still active at that point. Also in 2003, well after his career was over, the Ring Magazine ranked him as the 25th greatest puncher of all time.
25th. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive too. He did his nemesis. I always look at some of these greats, and they always have a nemesis, and it was Mike McCallum. He lost to Mike McCallum twice. So I look at him as his nemesis. It was his nemesis, but he was former world junior middleweight champion and middleweight champ. He had a career record 55 wins, 49 by knockout, giving him an 80% knockout ratio. Of his 6 losses, he was stopped all 6 times. So Julian Jackson, our blast from the past today, and like Alex said, is not in the Hall of Fame yet. But then again, neither is Marlon Starling, and I believe he deserves it. Before we let you go, Alex, I'm all jacked up over Deontay Wilder and some of his comments, and I love Mike Tyson. And I love you too, even though you got the picture of Mike Tyson being knocked out by Kevin McBride right in your office there. But that doesn't change my outlook on Mike Tyson. Deontay Wilder needs, in my opinion, he needs the Luis Ortiz fight. I could certainly understand him not wanting to fight somebody that they're labeling as a cheater, but some of the words that come out of Deontay Wilder's mouth, that he's the best heavyweight on the planet, and then recently discrediting Mike Tyson, what's your thoughts on that, his discrediting of Mike Tyson, and of course of the potential fight with Luis Ortiz, should it happen?
I'm not surprised to hear Wilder say that, but I think about Mike Tyson, but I think it's completely groundless. If Anthony Joshua said it, I'd agree with him. But I think that's just it. Anthony Joshua has too much class to say something like that. Wilder, Mike Tyson, his early career, there's certainly a lot of dubious opposition there.
But you can only fight who's available.
Right, yeah, but I know, but Billy C, come on. I mean, in the early days, the Donnie Longs, the Sammy Scaffs, some of those guys.
Sammy Scaff was a household name, Alex. I'll tell you, that was, when I think of Sammy Scaff, that was one of the most brutal knockouts I ever.
What got you into the sport?
What, the Sammy Scaff knockout did?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, I loved Mike Tyson, but that's why I love that Kevin McBride KO picture that Emily Harney got, because to me it was something that I never could have seen, and it just showed me that's one of the things I love about the sport, is that anything could happen, and to think that's like seeing Godzilla lying on his back and taken out. So that's why it's just a magnificent picture. It does break my heart, because Mike Tyson is what got me in the sport. But I can look at his whole career critically, and I think I don't fault him for some of the guys that Coach does. Guys like Tim Witherspoon. Mike Tyson probably would have fought Tim Witherspoon, but remember, Witherspoon got knocked out of the heavyweight tourney when Bone Crusher Smith knocked him out, and then Tyson fought Bone Crusher in one of the greatest fights of all time. One of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time.
Did you ever want to just survive? Did you ever want to just survive? That was Bone Crusher afterwards. Did you ever? Hey, you, Mr. Reporter, did you ever just want to survive? It's like, oh God, oh man. But anyway. But no, I hear you. Listen.
As far as Deontay Wilder, yeah, he has no grounds to say any of this. I hate to say that, advise that he should go in there against somebody who may or may not be taking PEDs. I trust VADA. It is weird that two guys that were step-ups for Wilder have both tested positive. I hope the fight does happen. Like I mentioned in the chat room, I was at two fights where we know that one of the combatants was under the influence of something. One was the Tony versus Ruiz fight at Madison Square Garden. The other was the Mosley De La Hoya rematch. In both cases, the juiced fighter won. Tony had his stripped. That victory is taken off his record. Mosley, he stuck with it, but if you remember that night, HBO was in the tank for De La Hoya. The punch stats, De La Hoya threw more punches, so Jim Lampley was going crazy about that, of course. But I thought Mosley won that fight. Tony definitely won that fight. He could have taken that fight no matter what. But it is a tough thing. I mean, it's not like hitting a baseball. You're hitting a guy in the head.
I know.
And if you're juiced, maybe it's not advisable to get in there with a guy who might be juiced. But at the same time, this is their profession, and I don't know. It's a tough one.
No, I hear you. Alex, I appreciate it, and hopefully we can get you back on later in the week, brother.
All right, Billy C. Take care.
All right, that's my man Alex Papali doing a great job. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, Sal Rocky Senecola will be back with us. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Stop. Living with hair loss, that is. Losing your hair is no fun, and no one wants to be bald, but there is hope.
Getting my hair back was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I'm happy with the way I look now.
I'm very excited about my hair.
I feel beautiful.
I love my hair.
Hair Club offers all proven hair loss solutions backed by our commitment to satisfaction guarantee. If you're not 100% satisfied with the solution you choose, Hair Club will apply the purchase price to another proven hair loss solution or transplant more hair at no charge.
It was the best thing I've ever done.
It looks good on me.
Call in the next 5 minutes to get your free brochure at no obligation. It will tell you everything you need to know about your hair loss problem, and it's free if you call now.
I am more pleased than what I had even imagined.
I at least look, I would say, 5 years younger.
I'm 52, and I look better now than I did when I was in my 40s.
I feel great.
And that's not all. The first 100 people who call will also receive $250 off any hair loss solution from Hair Club. Call now.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And back with us now. Having a whole lot of fun over there by himself. I'm glad to see that you stay. What's the word I'm looking for? Entertained.
I'm entertaining myself.
Yeah, you certainly are. You certainly are. But anyway, speaking of entertainment, your boys won last night. The New York Yankees start off losing 3-0 in the first inning. They were down. They pulled their starting pitcher in the first inning. And they come back to win 8-4. Congratulations to the Yankees. They move forward for the American League playoffs. So, yes, your Giants suck, but your Yankees are still alive. We got some emails to read, Sal. First one is from my man Willie, who you can find in our chat room. He says, hey, Billy C., I just wanted to say thanks for uploading your last Billy C. Event. It was great. It was fantastic to listen to those ex-champions talking. What amazing guys. And it's good to see them happy and enjoying life after their long and hard careers. And now, Sal has a belt, too. Did you get a chance to watch it? Did you enjoy it or what?
I did. I loved it. It was great. But you cut my speech off. I couldn't get the whole thing.
I cut your speech off?
Somebody cut my speech off. I at least on Facebook, I didn't get to hear the end of my story.
But I don't know.
Maybe
watch it. Watch
the Facebook version. I think it ran out of time. Like I saw the minutes clicking down, and boom, I got
watch it up on YouTube.
See about that.
Yeah, I didn't think he cut off any speeches. Unless something happened with the video. But it was a little hard to watch. Our last minute video guy roaming around, laughing and chuckling. I was getting dizzy, like Jeremy was saying. But yeah, if you guys missed it, we uploaded it yesterday. You get to see. Sal get belted. Nah, I didn't punch him in public. We belted him, and Ray Mercer is funny as hell, and Marlon Starling with a great story, and of course the smart one of the group, Bobby Ches. So if you missed
they're all
those,
smart, Bill. I think, but Bobby likes to, he likes to definitely put himself above with the mensa that he has earned and all that.
He must have said
they're all smart.
All I know is if I had a nickel for every time he mentioned that, I wouldn't have to do this show anymore. That's for sure. But anyway, if you guys missed it, check it out. It's up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING. And don't forget, we are planning another one. We will have some information on when and where very soon. We got a bunch of things just waiting for some paperwork on. But anyway, we got some emails here. Sal, this one's from Jesse. We just read Willie's. This next one is from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal. Yeah, I heard that the Rios-Danny Garcia fight might happen. Rios now will return with Robert Garcia. And an interview with Robert, he mentioned that he loves Rios like a family member, but that affected the boxing relationship. Rios would not train as hard and wouldn't listen. How do you separate a boxing relationship with a personal relationship in the sport, Billy C? Robert mentions he will no longer do that with his fighters. When it's time to work, it's time to work. Robert said it's okay to laugh and joke and have fun, but when it's time to work, they got to work. You know, it's an interesting question, Sal, because traditionally, father-son, which is the most obvious, family-type relationship, a lot of them don't work. And sometimes the father, expects too much from the son, and sometimes he's overprotective. Very few father-son combos have worked. I would think that in the nature of the sport of boxing, it would be more difficult to work when you're related to the fighter. What's your quick thoughts?
Well, my quick thoughts, my father was my best friend and I loved him, but he had a lot of input in my career, and he was somewhat of a co-manager, and I think a lot of people avoided him because of maybe not because of he didn't have the knowledge of the inside of the game of boxing. He pretty much from the onside he was hard to deal with, and I think it really depends. It's got to be a tempered relationship. It's got to be one that has to be as objective as possible. Hey, if my son wants to be a fighter, there's nobody else that I would rather have manage him than myself. But then again, will I be too close to him? You'll want to overprotect him, or do you want to see what he could do? And you got faith that he's going to be taking the shots and everything else. It's a hard balance. It really is.
Yeah.
I think there is a place for a father and his son's relation in his career. But I think it's got to be very well tempered and tested.
Yeah, I think a father should be part of a team, but maybe should not be in that position because of the fact that he loves his son, or daughter.
Absolutely.
But anyway, Jesse goes on to say, Billy, I think Wilder Ortiz should not happen and suspend Ortiz because there will be too many complaints from either camp. Commission must suspend Ortiz, but if it does happen, Ortiz should not win the belt and lose a chunk of his money. If not Ortiz, then Wilder should fight Dominic Brazil, Dillian White, or I guess Stavern. I will say it again, Billy, this division is thin and unskilled. Not much interesting fights to be made. He says, I heard that Matt Remillard will fight Yarley Armenta. Cruz, what's your thoughts? Is Cruz too experienced for Matt? And he says, Ulysses will face Steve Claggett. Is that a step up for UVs, or do you think he should face somebody more higher? I like the Claggett-Ulysses fight. Steve Claggett is a tough guy out of Canada. We had him on this show. I like the fight. As far as Matt Remillard spent several years in jail. Time is not on his side. It's either now's the time. So I like that fight. As far as your opinion on Ortiz, Jesse, I totally disagree. I think the Wilder-Ortiz fight has to happen. It's a fight that Deontay Wilder needs more than not having the fight. I think that Wilder needs this dance partner. I think Ortiz is at the right time for Wilder, even though we can't use it as an excuse. I think that the fact that there was some question about the PED use would neutralize the age. If anybody says, oh, well, the guy was 38 years old, he hadn't fought in a year, that should neutralize that. So if Deontay Wilder steps in the ring with Luis Ortiz and beats him up, I think that you should give Deontay the credit. If Deontay Wilder steps in the ring and Ortiz beats up Wilder, and then Wilder uses the PED excuse, to me, that's an issue. And if that's what Jesse is referring to here, he's got a point. What do you think, Sal?
Well, I think he's got a point. I think, like I said, I think you and I have a little difference of Deontay Wilder. I think Wilder could beat Ortiz. I think he will beat Ortiz with PEDs or not. And I think Deontay Wilder does need to have some big fights in front of him that he could prove. Hey, look, Mark Breland wouldn't be wasting his time if he didn't think he had something under wraps either. And I would think that with the tutelage, if Wilder does listen, like I said, Bill, I'm not gonna understate him. He's got. Hey, we always say you got a puncher's chance. This guy's got some explosive in his fist. And I think that, it gives him that puncher's chance. It's just a matter of how he could get inside or where he can deliver it from. And so with that puncher's chance, I got to give him a shot against, I know you're going to kill me, but everybody. I mean, he has a shot. He has a chance. I think his belief ability of what he can do himself has been the pat on their backs, and it's been maybe some false bravado. And I certainly don't like what he says or agree what he says about Mike Tyson or other fighters that he's putting down right now. But I think, you know what, he could give Anthony Joshua a good fight. I know you're going to slap me for that, but I agree. I think he could.
I wish I could reach in and slap you for that. But
I know. I was going to open my brother, so the fallout I'm going to get for that comment.
But I
can't figure it out.
I do agree with you. Deontay Wilder certainly has. He certainly has a. Was it raining in there? He certainly has a puncher's chance against anybody. That I agree. I do think he needs to fight Ortiz, and Ortiz will be the toughest opponent that he has to date. Now, listen, I have another couple of emails that we won't get to today, but I promise we'll get to them tomorrow. On this day, October 4th, in boxing history, in 1940, Fritzy Zivik wins a 15-round decision over the late, great Henry Armstrong to win the world welterweight title. That took place in New York City. On this day in 1991, Maurice Blocker wins a 12-round decision over Glenwood Brown to win the vacant IBF world welterweight title. That took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Two names that were very popular in the late 80s and 90s. Excuse me. On this day in 1897, Solly Smith wins a 20-round decision over George Dixon to win the world featherweight title. It took place in San Francisco, California. On this day in 2006, Celestino Caballero knocks out Somsak Sithing Chakwakin. I'm sorry to the family. I can't pronounce his name, but he knocked him out in the third round to win the WBA junior featherweight title, and that took place in Thailand. On this day in 1987, Wilfredo Vasquez knocks out Chan Young Park in the 10th round to win the WBA world bantamweight title. It took place in Seoul, Korea. And on this day, October 4th, in 1940, considered the best pound-for-pound fighter ever, the best ever, Sugar Ray Robinson makes his pro debut with a second-round knockout over Joe Echevarria at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Sugar Ray Robinson would go on to win world titles in multiple divisions and earn countless Boxing Hall of Fame honors. He finished his 25-year boxing career with 173 wins, 100 coming by knockout, 19 losses in which he was only stopped once, and 6 draws. If anybody doesn't think that Sugar Ray Robinson was the greatest of all time, you don't know boxing. Hey, man, that concludes. That's right. That's all you could say, right?
That's the wow fact.
108 knockouts. Is twice as many fights as you know who. More than 108 knockouts. So anyway. Hey, listen, that concludes our show for today. But make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.